Thank you, Lima, for that introduction. I have the opportunity and an immense honor to be in conversation with the author of Teacher Man, Sentilong Ozukum. I'm sure all of us in this room know about the author, but for anyone who is maybe living under the rock and doesn't know who Sentilong Ozukum is, let me try and do justice in introducing him. Sentilong Ozukum is, as many of us know, a man of very many words, right? He is a civil servant, he is a motivational speaker, he is also a screenwriter in Nagaland, and his previous works include Dreams and Chaos, Campus Blues, Sincerely Yours, The Case of Longti Village. These are some of his works. And a few of his works have also been adapted into web series. Teacher Man is his fourth novel. It's his fifth book, but it's his fourth novel. Over the past year that I've gotten to know Sir Sinti, what I've learned about him is that his true life's purpose is in the selfless service of others. Among the many things that he does, he's an administrator, he is a writer, and he also teaches students. But among all these things, he truly believes in serving others, right? And so much of him about serving others we can see in this book. So I'm sure he's heard me say this before, but I'll say and share it with you nonetheless. And he's not the one to take too many compliments. He would usually deflect it with humor. So in one of the many conversations that I've had with Sir Sinti, what he said was, you know, we as individuals, we cannot single-handedly change the world. We cannot single-handedly change the world, right? Otherwise in the world, there would be no misery. There would be no poverty. There would be no hunger, right? What we can start by doing is just doing something for our communities, doing something for a group of people, right? Or doing something for even just a family. And even if you don't have the means and resource to do that, do something for just one person, and that will change the entire world for that one person. So that is the essence of this man. So without further ado, let me welcome the author of Teacher Man, Sentilong Ozukum. So welcome. It is an absolute honor to be talking to you today. I would first like to start by stating that this is Sir's fourth novel, right? And it is his third novel in a span of 3 years. He's written Dreams and Chaos in 2020, The Case of Longti Village in 2021, and here comes Teacher Man in 2022. And we also know he's an administrator, right? And you teach as well. So the first question on everybody's minds is, where do you get the time to write?
Okay, thank you so much everyone for coming. Yes, so the reason why I get time to write is, despite serving in the administration and other stuff, is because I'm very lazy. My mother knows this, my family knows this. I don't do any stuff at home. Like from washing to cleaning, everything is taken care of by others. And it's not like I can't do, it's like I can't do, I won't do. And I just can't do stuff that, you know, I am a person with very limited talent. So all I can do is tell stories, that's it. I can sit for hours telling stories, but I can't peel potatoes or wash clothes or, I'm trying, but I just can't. So another thing is, fortunately, I wake up very early in the morning. So I wake up by 4:30 in the morning. After I got married, my wife wakes up at 4. So again, So I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and then I go to office at 5. From 5 a.m. to 10, I have nothing to do except read or write or maybe sleep. I return from office at 5. I sleep at 10. So from 5 to 10, again, I have another 5 hours. So every day, I have 10 hours to dispose. So what I'm doing is every morning, I'm just investing like half an hour or 1 hour in reading and writing. So I do this continuously, and over the period of 6 months, I just realized that a novel can be done. Yeah. Yeah, is that okay?
So, no dedication or drive, sir. Just using hours is what you do.
Okay, so that since you asked from where I get the time, that's it. But then regarding the inspiration and everything, I think my inspiration comes from my family. My mother is very good storyteller. She can conjure stories out of thin air. She might be telling the wrong stories, the right stories. We can never find out whether she's lying or not because she is a master storyteller. And so I learned the basics of storytelling, storytelling 101 from my parents. And I am also a keen observer of people. Some people have accused me of being staring at them or being rude or being, weird. But then, like, sometimes I have this weird habit of observing people and situations. And, as I said earlier, I have this urge to tell stories. So whether it's in the form of movies or radio or YouTube or through books, I just want to tell stories. And I believe that I was born since I can't do anything else, so I have to at least try to be the best at what I can do. So, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So when we first came to know about the novel, when I first came to know that Teacher Man was launching, what struck me was first the title of it, Teacher Man. Teacher is somebody we know that is associated with the profession of teaching. And you've associated that with the word man. It could have been anything else. So would you like to tell us a little bit about the title of the book and also about if you had other titles that were in the running and how did you zero down on Teacher Man?
Okay. As a writer, let me tell you, finding the perfect title is very difficult. And it's like finding the right title for your book. I feel it is sometimes like a husband going for shopping with his wife to a departmental store. So I'm learning things after marriage. So sometimes as soon as you walk into the store, you get the clothes or you get the things that you're looking for. And then you don't spend time. This is exactly what you had in mind before you stepped into the store. You got it. Other times, most often, you circle the store for 5 times, 6 times, you still don't get what you're looking for. And eventually settle for something which is not exactly what you had in mind, but since you did not find the thing that you were looking for, you come out of this departmental store after purchasing that. For me, I have struggled with this with my other books, but for Teacher Man, as soon as I started writing the book, the title came to me that this is going to be the title, and fortunately, I didn't have to think of any other titles. And why Teacher Man? Obviously, teacher, because the protagonist, she's a teacher and he is a man, so Teacher Man. But apart from that, just like our friend Aaron, he said, we all know, and so there are so many teachers in this room, and we know that, like she said, not all superheroes wear capes. Some, not all, some teach. So, my way of taking the title is, so Shisha is the Teacher Man of Sangtor Village, just like Bruce Wayne is Batman of Gotham City. So if we can have Superman or Batman or Iron Man, why not Teacher Man?
Okay, that's nice. Now when you put it that way, it makes more sense. And for all of us who were thinking about the title, thank you for that explanation. In the beginning of the book, you write that during the summer of 2020, when the entire country was under a lockdown, you received a phone call from your friend Tiakamzak Iyer, who is the director of Dreams Unlimited, and he phoned you with a story in mind. And this book is a result of the conversation that you had with him. And you also write that you finished this book in 3 months. Yes? And then could you just tell us, after the title, a little bit about the book and its background, and what was going on in your mind when you were writing the book after having the conversation?
Okay, so yeah, like she said, I received a call from my friend, and it was lockdown. He had nothing to do, so he started watching web series on Amazon Prime and Netflix, and he came upon a show called Panchayat. It is an Amazon Prime net series. It is based in a village called Fulira in Uttar Pradesh, so UP. So he said, this is the web series that you should watch, and I want to make a movie like this in the interior, somewhere interior of Nagaland, and you have to write the screenplay. So this novel was born out of that conversation. The thing was, 2020 was a weird year. It was a lockdown, and for some of you, you had nothing to do. For people like us who were working with the disaster management in the district administration, life was hell. So we went to office at 8 in the morning. We came back like around 1:32 in the morning. So we were on the field for like 18 hours for almost the whole year, and I was put under a lot of stress. Stress not from, in Mokokchung, stress not from the office, stress from outside the office, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so I was under a lot of stress, and early, I woke up at around 4:35, and I had to go to office by 7, 8. So within these 2 hours, I had to find something to relieve my stress. And after we had this conversation, I started writing this book in my laptop. And then I realized that every morning as I sat down for like half an hour, 1 hour every day, every morning, it was relieving my stress. I was finding comfort in the story. I was finding joy and happiness in the world that I was creating. And so very quickly, I was able to finish within 3 months. Yeah.
Okay. One of the running themes in your book is the philosophy of Maurice Schwartz.
Yes.
He is a sociology professor, and most of us, I'm sure, at some point in our lives do ponder upon life, as in, why is it that we are put on this earth? What is the purpose, right? What is our calling? Apart from the things that we do in our daily lives, like, what is it that we are meant to do, right? So I would like to quote from the book, where Maurice says that, many people walk around with a meaningless life, always half asleep and chasing the wrong things. But the only way to live a meaningful life is to devote yourselves to loving others, devote ourselves to the community around us, and creating something that gives purpose. And one of my absolute favorite is when Maurice says that you will never learn to live unless you learn to die. So I would like to ask you, sir, having been a student of philosophy yourself, what is the meaning and purpose of life?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I remember our deputy commissioner. We were having acting like philosophers, and I remember once discussing about this, about the meaning and purpose of life. And if I'm not mistaken, sir, we both agreed that for an agnostic or for an atheist who doesn't believe in the afterlife, the very question of the meaning of life is meaningless. At best, they can say that the meaning of life is to perform your duties. That's it. So this question has bothered so many thinkers and philosophers over the ages. But I genuinely feel that we men, we are existential human beings, and we are not only physical being, but we are a spiritual being as well. And unless you put the Creator in the center of this question doesn't make sense. So, if we are asking the meaning and purpose of life, that's a big question. But once again, it is very difficult for an agnostic or an atheist to answer this question. But for a believer who believes that he is a creation and there is a creator, then to answer this becomes a little easier. So there is a vacuum inside all of us. Some people pretend that life is okay, you are enjoying, but there is a vacuum inside all of us. We are all constantly searching for purpose, for identity, for meaning in life. No one can deny this. You might not be aware that you are searching for this, but it will manifest through your words, through your actions, through your conduct in society. So, thank you, sir. So what we do is the vacuum in our soul. Many people, we try to fill it with power, with pleasure, with possession, with popularity, with pleasure, all the peace. Yeah. But the thing is, you can't find meaning and purpose in life through salary or success or status or sex. You find it only through service and sacrifice. Yeah, so in the year 29 or 10, Sir Roy is here. He is my English teacher, and when I was in school, he's a good mentor of mine. And I remember having a lot of conversation with him over this. He's a devout Hindu. I have preached the gospel to him many times unsuccessfully. He has told me that upper caste Hindus don't convert. Please don't try. But nevertheless, yeah, we have discussed this. And he said to me way back in 2010 that there are only two things that gives him meaning in life. And I was very intrigued by it. I said, sir, what is it? He said, even if it's the Bible or the Gita, I'm sure he said that it teaches us two things. First is selfless service towards humanity, and the second is creativity. So if you practice selfless service towards humanity and creativity, that is where you get the meaning and purpose of life. That is what he said, and I have been trying to imbibe this philosophy over the past many years. I would like to end a quote by the artist Pablo Picasso. He said, on meaning and purpose, he said something that is beautiful. He said, the meaning of life is to find your gift. And the purpose of life is to give it away. So I think that perfectly sums up what I am trying to say. Yeah, thank you.
Can you repeat that, sir?
I don't know whether I can remember it, but yeah, he said on meaning and purpose. He said the meaning of life is to find your gift, the gift that God has given to you, whether it's teaching or preaching or dancing or researching or, now I'm paraphrasing since you asked. So the meaning of life is to find your gift, but the purpose of life is to give this gift away in the service of others, of course. Yeah.
Well, that was deep, right? Very deep and thought-provoking. Wow. Let me ask you a question that usually women get asked, okay? Women, when they are working in an area where it is male-dominated, they get asked, how do you carve your space in this area where it's male-dominated? Why do you think most fiction writers in Nagaland are mostly women? And how do you carve out a space for yourself in that area?
Did you give the question to her? Or? Wow. So, why are most fiction writers, you mean Naga writings in English, right? Yeah. I think that's true because I've never read a novel written by a Naga male author. I don't recall. Like 2090s, early 2000. They're taking time. That means like there might be, but then, like, yeah. there was a Lota Kai. Yeah, I mean.
I'm saying majority.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are men, but
yeah,
mostly.
there are very few.
Yeah.
So, okay, one way to answer this is if you ask this question to anyone, they might say that, okay, look, women have been oppressed, they have been subjugated for so many generations, and now, and they have been denied space, in the public sphere. Now they might say, look, they have been denied all this, so maybe fiction gives them an opportunity to express their resentment, or maybe create an alternate universe in the fictional world where things are okay. Yeah, that might be a good answer, but I'm thinking women have been subjugated or oppressed in all cultures. So a better answer might be, I'm thinking along the lines of our culture. Yeah. So if you look into our culture, you will see that the duty of a male was to protect the village. So we are expecting physical traits, and responsibilities with the male. So if you study, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you study oral tradition or stuff like that into the past, you will notice that poetry or plays was considered a male genre. It was considered a male trait. Whereas, because it was believed that indulging in fancy and imagination was considered weakness. And weakness is not supposed to be in a man who is supposed to protect the village. So indulging in fancy and imagination was always considered a feminine genre. So maybe that might be the reason why we had so many women writers in English. And yeah, but I think we are catching up, the male folks.
You are leading, sir, in that. So I'm sure you're inspiring so many. Talking about fiction, we have seen a mushrooming of writers, fiction writers in Nagaland, fiction books that have come up. Why do you think that is? And also, the writings in the past have mostly dealt with topics that are related to either the historicity of the region. They are topics which are related to insurgency. But your writings are mostly based on contemporary social issues, right? So do you want to write in the future on topics related to the things that you don't write now? And writing about social issues, is it a conscious decision for you?
Okay, that's like 3 or 4 questions put in one.
2, sir.
Okay. Yeah, where do I begin with? So yes, I have not written anything, any fiction or any work based on insurgency or folklore, or I think it is because I did not experience firsthand of the things that happened in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. So I grew up in the 90s. By 1997, 8, 9, there was ceasefire, and then I belong to the generation where where gunshots were not heard, maybe during the early 90s. So I can say that I now write for the living audience, not the dead audience. So that is why I am more attuned towards this. Coming back to the mushrooming of writers and Nagaland, it is true, and yes. If you look at the newspapers, like there is one person or the other every week releasing a poetry book or a fiction book or some book or the other. And it is encouraging to say that, there is something happening in the literary sphere. But I also feel that most of them are writing or publishing the works too early. Because people, like young budding aspiring writers, they also send the manuscripts to my mail and they ask me about it. I also patiently read their manuscripts and I give them my advice. I tell them, why don't you shelve this manuscript for 6 months? At the end of 6 months, you take it out and read it again. And if you're happy with your manuscript, shelve it again for another 6 months. That means you are not growing. So, but most of them don't listen. So, yeah. So, okay. Regarding this, I was thinking the other day, even for me, 2010 I published Campus Plus. 2 years after I published this, I got depressed because it was a horrible novel, and I regretted for publishing it. I was like, why nobody stopped me from doing this? Because I know it had no literary merit. It was like a junk food. You enjoy while reading it, but after the end of the book, there's nothing for you. Something like that. Nah? So 2010, then I published my next book only in 2017, 7 years. Between these 7 years, I read a lot, and then I started, writing. I actually wrote 2 novels between this phase, but I did not publish them because I didn't want to embarrass myself. It was only in the year 2017 that I was losing hope, and I started writing some short stories. And our friend Aaron, I said this is not good for publishing. She said they are good. Maybe she was trying to encourage me, or I don't know, but she said it was good. And then I take her word as a gospel. So I said, okay, if she is saying it is good, then it must be good. So I published that. After that, I've been trying to improve every day.
Which one is that, sir?
Sincerely Yours.
Sincerely
Yeah,
Yours.
so now, coming back to this, in church, in Naga Christian church today, the pulpit is often used for self-promotion and not Christ promotion. And many pulpits, whether you're preaching or singing or dancing or performing choreography or reading the Bible, more often it is not glorifying God. You are trying to gain popularity through the pulpit. So this is a phenomenon that you will find in Nagaland. Now I'm using this to explain. Now literature is art, and genuine artists they worship art. Now the question is, do you want to promote yourself, or do you want to promote art? So this is a question that needs to be taken very seriously, because genuine artists, they respect art, they worship art, they would not do anything like try to become famous or popular in the name of art. So I think that's something that needs some more deliberation. Okay, am I missing another question? Yes,
No. Mushrooming of writers,
Okay.
and yes, that's done. So many people look up to you and your writing, and they are fans of yours, and they want to read you every time you publish a book. They always, they want to get the first copies and all. We want to know, while you were growing up, what kind of literature were you exposed to, and who are some of your favorite authors, including Naga authors?
Okay, very quickly, you won't believe this, but growing up in life, I had nothing to read. My parents did not read books, they did not read newspapers, and then we lived in the 90s in Alampang Ward, no libraries, nothing, no bookstores, and I was not exposed to literature at all. I did not have uncles or aunties who would give me books. The only literature we had at home was my mother's horoscope book, a small book. She would read it religiously, like Gemini. So she would read Gemini, you will win the lottery today, or something like that. So, yeah, I would read the book very religiously, because that was the only thing that was available at home. And I was interested in reading stories, so I read my English textbooks like from beginning to the end, and then from beginning to the end. After that, when I got bored of reading my English textbooks, I started reading my sister's textbooks, and that is how I grew up. So, sadly, I was exposed to literature only when I was about to graduate. I never studied out from this town, so that's why sometimes I wish, what if I had, been exposed to literature from school days. Today I would have been writing better prose or better fiction. But nevertheless, I am trying. Better late than never. And what was the second thing?
No, this is it. I'm just
Have you
wondering.
read authors, something
Yes,
like
yes,
that?
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, I love reading the works of Murakami, and then Khalid Hosseini, and then I also enjoyed some of the books of Mitch Albom and G.D. Salinger, and a few of them. And for Naga writers, there are lots of them, but I wouldn't say Tamsila or Isirin Creed. They are great, but the current generation, If we are to expect a literary masterpiece from Nagaland tomorrow, I'm putting my money on Imisinla Jamir and Avino Kiri.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So, like, you didn't have any exposure to literature till you were in college. I mean, and after that you went on, and this is, your fifth book and your fourth novel you've written. That is amazing. So, like, when I was reading the book and I finished it, and then I came across certain metaphors. Your metaphors are so fresh. How do you come about it? If you could just tell us quickly, how do you come about the metaphors that you use in this book?
Okay, I think metaphors are very important for writers, and it is very difficult for prose writers, especially, to come up with fresh metaphors. Like, searching for fresh metaphors is like a fisherman, or you can see a diver, like searching for rare pearls in the bottom of the ocean floor. It's hard work, and most of the time, you don't get it. But the day you find one, you wear it around your neck, and you run to the marketplace in search of the finest, like, pearl merchant to get a good price for it. So we do this, and so, like, as prose writers, we have to avoid using dead metaphors. They are metaphors which have been overused and eventually, doesn't add any beauty or freshness to the prose, right? So, but finding fresh metaphors, very difficult. But one thing I do for me is I apply the method of personification, meaning whatever I'm looking at my home, in office, I try to imagine that everything around me is a human being. They are thinking, they are talking, and I imagine if they were able to think or do, what would they say, right? So, that is how I carry about. There might be like a few of the metaphors I've employed. If you found them striking, then I'm happy.
Yes, especially the one which compares the dog, like limping in like a dog. What was
Okay, that is earlier part of the, like an animal seeking a private place to die.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I limped to the apartment. So this happened in 2020. I lost a dog. I had two dogs, and I lost one of them. One of them was saved by Dr. Sentilong. I don't know whether he's here. He's here, yes. He's the finest veterinary doctor, I don't know, in Northeast and Southeast Asia. Anyway, but I lost the other dog because, not because of him, but after I lost the dog only, I went in search of him. So I could save the other one. But then, one morning, the dog was missing. And then we were searching everywhere, and we couldn't find it. And my little sister, he found it in a place where nobody would have even imagined to search, somewhere in a storeroom. So I was like remembering this situation as I wrote this. So
That's
like an
nice.
animal, he was seeking a private place to die.
Yeah.
So the protagonist after that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you write, we know we write on like experience and all, but how much of your fiction is autobiographical?
I won't lie and say there's no autobiographical elements. I think if a writer says that there are no autobiographical elements, he or she will be lying. So a lot of the works, a lot of the characters are based on someone or the other. For instance, I'll just mention a few of them. This book, inspired from so many places, but it's the problem of proxy teachers in Nagaland. And what if, something happens? And as you can see, somewhere around 2018, 19, I think Sir Shanavas, he became the principal director of education. He started, strengthening the system. And then I was thinking, there are so many proxy teachers in Kohima, in Timapur, in Mokokchung. What if they are now to go to the village after following the government order? What would happen? So, something. And most of the characters in the book, for instance, there is a lady doctor who appears in the middle of the book. She's inspired by a friend of mine. All her life, she has been posted in the interiors. Tubu, Changlangsu, Munyakshu. She's now in Nuklak. She's been serving like dutifully for the past many years. So many characters like that. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Just quickly, sir, like, We know of proxy teachers in Nagaland. We know how much of it till what extent do we keep blaming the system? Till what extent do we keep saying, this is because of the various governments that come in? We know how to build roads. We know how to build schools. But why is it that as a civilization, we are not being able to do the bare minimum of providing education to our youth?
Okay, see, we tend to think like that, but I don't think civilization works like that. Because if we study civilization, it's not about me trying to help my neighbor. It's never like that in civilization. It's me trying to gain control of my neighbor. It's me trying to take advantage of my neighbor. Civilization is not about helping one tribe helping another tribe. It's never like that. It's always wars, violence, and one religion trying to finish another religion, one race trying to finish another race. So humanity by nature is greedy. We're selfish, right? So that's one thing. Another thing is, for me, we can blame, especially in the Naga context, I don't think we can blame anyone. We cannot blame anyone but yourself. So it is said that the condition of the present world, we can say it like, it's not, the world suffers not because of the violence of bad people, but because of the silence of good people. Yeah, something like that. And even if we look our leaders, when we think of education and other things like that, see, in a society, in a community, the basic, the grassroots are education, health, sanitation. We start with this. Once these foundations are strong, the other things take care of themselves. But if you look at the things that are happening in our villages today, if you are a minister or a leader or whatever, or you are a village leader, you will never ponder upon improving sanitation or education or health, but you would be very interested in building a magnificent village gate, a magnificent community building, a magnificent church. Spend a lot of money in that, but then, I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but that is how it is.
They always spend money on things that you can see, like roads you can see, buildings you can see, but education, health, you cannot see unless it reaches your doorstep. So that is why I think also you would want to do something that people can see, and then you take the back seat for the others like sanitation, education, and healthcare. The next question that I want to ask you, sir, is based on a few people that I've talked with and I've interacted with who've read this book and who've gotten the chance to read the book in their PDF versions, and it is a question on popular demand. We have seen that you have dedicated this book to the love of your life, who is now your wife, the lovely Sentilong. She's here with us this evening. So we, the readers, would love to know if there is any forthcoming story or even just a character that is based on or inspired by your love story that is coming soon.
I'm sure it will come in the future. It will be a magnum opus or something like that. But as of now, no. My point is, I'm not writing anything based on art, because I feel that relationships are personal, and maybe let's see in the future. But right now, I want to write about other people's stories first before I write my own.
Okay. Before I go on to the last and final question, I open the floor for questions. So if anybody in the audience has questions, now is the time and the opportunity to speak with the author. Come on, guys. The Sentilong Ozukum is here. Come on, anybody? Yes, please. Yeah. Do you want the mic?
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. A huge fan of Sir Sentilong. My question has been covered by your last question. it's not that I'm a feminist, but then when we look at your the recent books, the novel's title, The Teacher's Man, the protagonist is a male, right? It's a guy. I mean, it's a man. But then you have clarified that. And when I look at all your works, like Sincerely Yours is a collection of anecdote, but then the rest, all the protagonists are men. So in the future, like, are you going to add, like, not based on your wife maybe, but then are you going to add a female protagonist to your story? That's what I wanted to know. Though it's the same thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would be very challenging, because for a male writer to develop a female character, I think it'd be very challenging. But I think it would be very interesting. It would be a challenge for me to, maybe with the help of my wife here, now that she is my companion, maybe that is something that I've never thought of. But then maybe that is not a bad idea. Yeah.
Any more questions? Oh, this is not working. Any more? We'll wait a little while if anybody wants to ask any questions.
By the way, your teacher man, the protagonist, is he portrayed as a change agent? Since I haven't read the book, can you believe that teacher can be a change agent in society?
Teacher.
Sir, yes, I believe that teachers can act as a change agent in society, but I also believe that teachers can't change the entire society. So I always believe that, and I was sharing this, in fact, with some of my teacher friends last week that who are working as principals or working in various schools, and they're saying that it's very difficult to teach the present generation, especially after post-COVID and things like that. And it's very challenging to be a teacher, sometimes very toxic and very problematic. And then I keep telling them that, see, we can't change the entire world, like you mentioned earlier. But as a teacher, if you just focus on, person, if you focus on individual, you can't change the world, the entire world. You can't change the entire society, but you can definitely change the world of one person at a time. So I believe that it's very, but at the same time, that teacher should be a person who has responded to the call of teaching. Otherwise it just won't make sense. And I believe, sir, you have responded to the call of teaching, and I can count, my fingers are not enough to count the number of people whose lives have been transformed through your teaching, especially in Mokokchung town.
Any more questions?
Okay.
Yes. So yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So now you finished, I think, 4 books in last 3 years.
Yeah.
Very good speed you're writing with, but now things have changed. Like Superman, Batman, teacher, but now we're a married man. Now, are you confident that you have enough time to write books with that speed? Because now you have to spend hours and hours on phone calls and all. Now you have to resolve those issues, the problems in your life which were never there before. So, what we should expect from you now onward?
Sir, if you give me leave for 2 months, I will come up with another book anyway. Yes, sir, I think that's something that I've never thought of. But again, that reality, I believe it will come after we have kids. Maybe. I'm also thinking I'm not very fond of babies. I might be in the future, but right now, like babies, they don't like me. I love them, but somehow they don't want to come anyway. So, but the good thing is time management, as well as the daily source of inspiration from where we are getting ideas from. So with her together, I believe that now that I'm writing 1 book per year, perhaps 2 books per year is also possible, because like I said, I was waking up at 4:35. Now she's waking up before 4, so I have to wake up along with her. I have now more time, and maybe spending time with her together will get more inspiration and perhaps, more guidance. Earlier, I was alone. I had to, but now she is there to support me, to encourage me. In fact, I've started already the next book. So I believe that it should be ready very soon. Let's hope. Yeah.
That's great news for us readers.
Can I just ask?
Yes, please, sir. Please go ahead.
Can I just ask one very simple question?
Yes, sir.
When we hear the mention of some names, some personalities, we expect what we are to get from him or from her. Now, when people start reading your books, there is a kind of expectation, and it's the other way around as well. In the sense, from such and such speakers or writers, we didn't expect this. So when we see the mention of your name in programs, or hear that you will be taking the stage to, talk to young people and all that, I see a lot of people thronging to listen to you, and they expect something from you. Because whether they are right or wrong, they have a definition of Sentilong in their mind. Now, when we go on reading your books, the kind of person as you are, as people know, one of the aspects or one of the defining characteristics of yourself is that you are a staunch theist. Now, when we listen to you, or especially when it comes to writing, do you think in future or in the near future, people will be expecting something from your product, an element of theism that you have founded your life on?
Yeah, got it, sir. Yeah, got it. So, yeah, very profound question, and people have asked me this, and one of the reasons, I should say, why I have not moved in that direction is because I am not educated in that genre. So I don't have the authority to, go into that sphere. But that is just my problem. But then again, this dichotomy, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I genuinely believe this dichotomy is coming because Christianity that is practiced in Nagaland, not only in Nagaland, but even Western Christianity as a whole, I think we have been influenced so much by Greek philosophy. Because not by Jewish philosophy, because for the Greeks, they have a strong dichotomy between the body and the spirit. For them, the spirit is what it matters. That's why they say that philosophers should be king, And the body, they treat it not important. So the spiritual realm is important. The bodily realm is not important. That is what the Greek philosophers say. But for Jewish philosophers, both the spirit and the body are equally important. Now we have borrowed this idea, and this philosophy is seeped into our Christianity so much that today there is a strict dichotomy between the spiritual and the physical, even in Naga Christianity today. That is why you will find people who are indulged in mental works, spiritual works, they are put at the top of the social ladder. Those people who are engaged in physical works, they are both at the bottom of the social ladder. That's why we have so much respect for missionaries, pastors, and teachers, and people who are working in offices, because they are working with their mind, not with their hands. But we don't attribute the same respect to a sweeper or to someone who is engaging in manual labor. So Now, for people, I now understand that whether it is, because our God, if you're talking about the God of the Bible, our God is a very creative God. And it is said that we have been created in His image. So part of our image bears that creativity. So we have to be creative, all of us, in our own levels. So my point is, there is nothing like sacred and secular. It is just our production. It is just a man-made thing. People say, oh, you're from secular, you're from secular. There's nothing like that. Whatever you do in the name of God is sacred. Even if you're preaching from the pulpit, if you're not doing it for the glory of God, then that is a secular thing. So even writing this book or performing in art or performing a painting doesn't necessarily saying like Jesus said that, God has said that, but then this is a projection of God's creativity. So I take it in that way. I had a similar conversation just a few hours back with a friend of mine. She said, why are people rushing to prayer centers? And why in prayer centers eating rice is not allowed, but Maggie is allowed? As if Jesus is against rice, but Jesus is fond of junk foods. Yeah. But then, so I was saying that, every place is a prayer center for the Christian, be it the par or the parochial. Every center should be a prayer center because the Bible says pray without ceasing. It means pray all the time. If necessary, use words. Yeah.
That's very well put, yeah, sir. So last question is that what would you say or what advice would you give to anybody who is a budding or an aspiring writer and who looks up to you? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, so harsh advice, but then there's no other way. Writing is a very lonely job. Writing is a very difficult job. So the advice is read. Spend at least, 3-4 hours more than that reading literature, getting exposed to various writers, and don't be in a hurry to publish your works. No? It's like writing a book is like, a gardener or a farmer or a winemaker, making wine. You cannot be impatient with wines. The more time you devote to it, the better the wine gets. So this is the advice that I want to give to budding, aspiring writers. Read more, write more, engage more. But, like I said, if you are happy with what you've written right now, give it some time. Maybe 6 months, 1 year, 3 months, read it again. If you're still happy, you're not growing. You are not growing. So, read, grow, leave the manuscript for an amount of time, until and unless you're not happy with it. So, always look for growth. Yeah.
Well, with that, we come to an end of this conversation, and it has been delightful, sir, sitting with you. And we wish you all the very best for your future projects, and we can't wait to read more of your work. I would just like to end in the words of our friend Arun. You're truly the voice of the angsty generation trying to find their way in the world. Thank you, sir.